Hey everyone, so just going through some exercises here to kind of really start to build up the hips, in particular for emphasis with activities such as golf, pickleball, tennis. Going through some basic stuff. We're going to start first with a banded side step. Now these little loop bands you can get at any sporting goods store, you can get oftentimes online, so grab you one of these. They're not expensive. I'm going to put it around. Well, you can start with it around our knees. If we want it more difficult, we can move it down to the ankles. If you want the most difficult, we can even put it around the balls of the feet. And that's where I'll just keep it here for now. But starting with the banded side step, I like to have people go for time. So we may do a 45-second interval. The point, we want to keep our trunk still, and we're going to start to side step. Over, keeping tension on the band the whole time. We don't want to bring it all the way in and lose that tension. But we're going back and forth. I recommend about 3 to 5 steps per side, depending upon how much space you've got. But the goal is that we try to stay still from the hips up. We don't want to see kind of rocking, which is what happens if the band's too hard or if we start to get tired. So you should really feel that start to work in the sides of the hips as you're going. I've got a little bit of bend in my knees. I'm not squatting, but I'm not got my knees locked out either. So if you start to get tired, too much burn, pause there for a moment, rest, and then continue again for about 45 seconds. And I do those in intervals. So 45 seconds on, 30, 45 seconds off, and 3 or 4 times with that. Once you've got that good burn in your hips, got them loosened up, then we can move on and we can start a lunge. So we know that whether we're playing pickleball or tennis, we're gonna have to change directions quickly. We're gonna move forward and backward quickly. So we wanna kind of implement that into our workouts. And we could start with body weight, with going a forward lunge, maybe alternating as we come back and forth. If you feel comfortable going all the way down and letting your knee go all the way down to the ground, great. If you don't feel comfortable going that far, then find the depth you feel comfortable with. And then we can start to build in angles. So we were going forward, then maybe we start to go at an angle, because we know when we're playing sports or just in life in general that we're going to be changing directions, want to move. So we want to be able to move in various angles. So I like to maybe include forward lunge, alternating each leg, angled lunge, alternating each leg, side lunge, alternating each leg. That starts to get easy, then we can start to add weights into it. So grab some dumbbells and doing the same thing as we go through. We can go into the angled lunge, just keep them on each side of the leg, into the side lunge, keeping them on each side of the leg. If you don't feel comfortable with one move in particular, all right, cut that one out. But it's a good way. I usually recommend, hey, we want to get a total of 10 to 15 reps per leg when we're doing that, whether that's completed with body weight, whether that's completed with weights. So you find where you get that burn and that challenge coming from. And if I was doing multi-planes, maybe it's 5 forward, 5 at an angle, 5 to the side. Doesn't have to be 15 of each unless you're just a crazy person. So after that one, we can start to go into what we call a single leg deadlift here. So the variation we can look at, we can do body weight. So in this case, on my left leg, I'm gonna keep my knee slightly bent. I'm gonna let that other leg stay in line with my body, leaning forward and back up. So not only is this gonna start to work on the muscles in your back of your leg, your hamstrings, your glutes, it's gonna test your balance a little bit. So we're going back and forth. Make sure that the leg that's floating up in the air, and I'll switch legs to show you, stays in line with your body. We don't wanna have it where I'm bent over and then I let my leg come. You should imagine like you've got a rod running straight down through your back into your hip and will not let your hip bend without your back. So we stay there. My back foot, you try to keep your toes pointing downward as we're going. If balance is just not great for you right now, then we may do it close to something where you can hold on. Be it a post, be it a countertop, piece of furniture, a machine. We can just keep a finger there and am working on that. And again, the leg I'm standing on, it's not a squat, but it's not locked out either. I've got a slight bend, what we call a soft knee as I'm bending. And I lean forward until I start to feel a little bit of stretch in the back of that stance leg. Now, if that feels good for you and you want to increase the challenge, we take a dumbbell. I like to have people do it with one dumbbell in their hand, and in the hand, holding it in the hand opposite of the leg you're standing on. And this is going to start to work a little more of the outer hip muscles, which are ones we really need again when we're moving side to side, such as with golf, or pardon me, with tennis or pickleball, or when we're swinging and rotating, such as with golf. So I'm holding the weight here, same thing. And each time I allow that back toe to come back and touch, just to help me reset and get that balance. So different options for that. And again, trying to find a weight that I could get a burn anywhere within 8 to 12 repetitions with, doing that and switching legs for. So the next one we're gonna go into, I've attached a band here. We're doing resisted trunk rotation. Now, if you're in a gym and you have access to a cable machine with the handles, that would work just fine. Bands like this, again, you can find pretty easily online or at most sporting goods stores, but I'm just holding it here, got my knees slightly bent, feet about shoulder width apart, and from here I'm gonna rotate, and I like to allow my back foot to pivot with me as I'm rotating. So that's gonna start to include, as we do so, by allowing the hips to twist a little bit. It's gonna start to work those hip muscles as well as your trunk muscles when you're doing that. We can do it and keep your feet pointed and not allow that to happen. That's gonna dial in on your trunk just a little bit more. So a couple of variations there. You find what is most comfortable for you, but just going back and forth, feeling that work in your back and in your abdominals. We could even, again, allow that foot to pivot a little bit with you as you're doing this. But again, I like to find something where a little bit more repetitions with this, that 12 to 15 rep per side mark. So I would do this, maybe rotating to the left, and then we're gonna rotate around and do it rotating to the right as well, moving only as far as you feel comfortable with that. So the next one we're gonna go into, and the final one from a strengthening standpoint, we could come down to the ground. So we're gonna do basically a bridge, but there's variations here. So the simplest would be just to do a regular bridge. So I've got my knees bent, a little more than 90-degree angle, feet flat on the ground, keep a little tension in my abdominal muscles, and I'm just thinking I'm trying to push my feet straight through the ground, allowing my hips to lift up in doing so. So that would be the easiest version of this. If you wanted to draw in a little bit of the outer hip muscles, we can start to throw a band, again, right around the legs, putting it around the knees. We'll spread the knees apart, keeping tension as we bridge up and down. And again, we're trying to get that burn out of the hips. So it may be for something where you want to go, if you don't have a lot of resistance, these are pretty strong muscles. If this was an easy one for you, but you don't have a lot of resistance, then we can go for higher reps, 15 to 20 reps, or we could make it more of a challenge by taking the band off. We could go to a single leg bridge, so I've got my other knee about hip level and just bridging up using just one leg. Up and down, that's gonna be a little more of a challenge. It's gonna work those hip muscles a little more, especially the ones that control our rotation and side-to-side movements that we so need with golf, tennis, pickleball. We could also take a dumbbell or two. If you could hold one on each side or one flat on you. We could do a weighted bridge, or if you get crazy, you could even do a weighted single leg bridge. So lots of ways to vary this just to try to get that burn and get that work out of the hip. Now for just a few bonus things here from a mobility standpoint, we can sit with your knees bent. We can let them just try to rock from side to side. Certainly if you've got issues with your hips and knees and this doesn't feel good for you, then maybe not, this is maybe not the right one for you. But just to start getting that hip rotation, the straighter I sit as I do this, the more the more range of motion it's going to demand. If you don't feel that comfortable with it, you could lean back a little bit to start out. That's going to make it a little easier on you. And then as you get more comfortable, we can start to sit up a little straighter. So I usually ask people or have people do this for about a minute or so, just back and forth, staying within where they're comfortable doing this. Final two here, we can sit up. If we want to just try to get a stretch out of some of these hip muscles, if you have the ability, we can prop an ankle up on here. We want to get a glute stretch. So got my ankle resting on my knee, sitting up straight, shoulders pulled back to help keep my back straight. And then I'll slowly lean forward through my hips until I feel a stretch along the back of my hip, back of my thigh, and my glute. Any of those would be acceptable. Holding that stretch for about 30 seconds. And then I'd switch and do the other leg. The final one, same position. I would then grab hold of the knee this time. I want to pull that knee towards my opposite shoulder and turn slightly toward it. So it's like I'm trying to get my knee to my opposite shoulder, but with the intent also of feeling that stretch along the back of the hip or into the bottom right there. Similar to the last one, it is a different muscle group we're emphasizing with this, but you may feel a stretch in a similar area. That would be normal. Again, looking to hold about 30 seconds. So this is a routine. Certainly it's not comprehensive. Certainly there may be other things depending upon what's going on that might be better for you to try, but these are some great exercises for whatever you're planning to do, whether that's play golf, play pickleball, play tennis, or just get outside, play with your kids, get out and work in the garden, work in the yard, with different ways of making that more difficult or easier. Certainly if there are any issues, you can always reach out to us and we can help you out.